Well, hi, Raluca.
Hello, how are you?
So good to see. I'm good. It is so good to see you. How are you doing?
So good to see you as well. I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me here, for having me on this event. I'm excited to reconnect with you and chat and see where this conversation leads
Mm.
us.
Yes, it's so long. As I said to you, we'd spoken earlier, and as I said to you then, it's been. It seems like forever since I've seen or talked to you. So I'm excited about this too. Thank you for.
Yes, thank you.
I'm honored that you're joining me here. As many, as this gets out there. Was actually my first one getting back into doing this. I've been kind of in a transitional space, still kind of in the transitional space, but a little more situated right now. So we're back doing the live discussions to people there. What's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I do. Um, I get the nudge, as you get nudges. So I've gotten nudges over the last year. One of those things where many people, as you know, in the collab are needing so much
Mhm.
healing in so many different ways, and there's so many things that, and they don't know where to go, including people going to doctors that are saying, we've done all these tests and blood work and x-rays and da 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 da, and on and on and on, and yet getting any answers. So that's why the work that we all do comes into play, because we work with stuff that, of course, in allopathic medicine they're technically not going to find.
That's right.
Right. So
Yes.
it's, yeah. So, and that's awesome. So going forward, I'm going to introduce you. So Raluca is a healer, a teacher, and a guide that helps women break out of the good girl detail with as we go, and the societal pressures to feel empowered, confident, and to be able to follow their dreams. Raluca originally went to school for science and completed a master's in integrative biology, but was always called to the world of healing and intuition. And we've worked together, and she's very intuitive. She's a wonderful lady. For anybody that wants to reach out when you see and hear what she does, and if it resonates with you, please do reach out to Raluca. Very passionate, very understanding woman, and she'll definitely be able to help you. So, Raluca, let's go back. So, you originally went to school, and let's go from there, and what went forward from your teachings that way, and how you carry you to where you are at this point in time.
All right. Okay. So it's been quite a journey. Like you said, I went to school originally for biology, for integrative biology, and it was actually in I think my first or second year of university that I took my first Reiki course. So during university, I took a weekend course that my parents actually introduced me to. So that was a really cool experience. So I took that Reiki course and then I back, continued my studies. I was really enjoying biology, and at that point, I started feeling this nudge, like I wanted to go into healing. So I started researching medical school, like you do when you're usually in university. You think like, oh, what's the next step? Maybe medical school. But while I was deciding, I did decide to complete my master's because I never knew. I was just weighing out all my options. I thought maybe I would love to work in a lab one day, didn't know how everything would come together. And while I was going to school for my master's, I continued with my energetic study. I took another level of Reiki, and I also started volunteering at a naturopathic clinic because that came into my world. I knew I wanted to do some natural healing and I wanted to explore that. Um, and like all the time in my free time I would be researching natural remedies and ways to heal ourselves naturally, and just something started forming. And when I was volunteering at this clinic, I actually met a homeopath, and I learned about what homeopathy is, and I learned how homeopathy is an energetic medicine that we take, and it helps our energy shift, and it helps us heal physically, emotionally, and mentally and spiritually. It just works on all these different levels. So then I went and signed up for homeopathy school without ever having tried it myself. And it was actually in homeopathy school when I first went to the first clinic there, to the homeopathic clinic, the student clinic. And at that point, I was feeling very tired and burnt out and stressed after finishing my master's and starting this new program. It was like, and working, everything was crossing over, and I was really burnt out. And I went to the clinic, and they gave me a remedy, and I didn't expect anything of it. I thought, it's going to take so long. It's going to take a few tries. This is a student clinic. What are the chances they're going to get it right at the first try? What are the chances it's going to work? But I took this remedy, and overnight, I felt a shift. I woke up in the morning and I felt so much lighter. I felt like a new person. I felt completely different. It was like this weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and this anxiety had lifted, and I could just feel light and feel like myself again. So that was completely amazing to me. And yeah, and then I was sold. Obviously, I was already sold because I was in the program already, but it was just amazing. So I continued. I finished homeopathy school and I started my practice immediately after. And as I started practicing, I still felt like something was missing. Like I would have beautiful results with my clients. I would see how they would heal with their physical symptoms, their emotional symptoms, but I really felt this call to bring the energy back in, to bring the spirituality back in. So I started learning how to do more and more of that. I learned more healing modalities. And it was actually at the end of 2019 that I finally introduced energy healing to my practice. And this was after, at this point, my first course was 12 years ago. So it took quite a while for me to introduce energy to my practice and to lean into that part as well. And through introducing that and doing those energetic practices and learning those modalities, I did a lot of my own healing and a lot of my own healing in my own life with boundaries, with people pleasing, emotional healing. And the more I would work through my own things that I need to work through, the more clients would come to work on those same themes. So through doing this, I
Funny
realized
how it works, eh?
exactly. It's, yeah, I always feel that our pain is our purpose, that what we work through is what we're meant to help others work through as well, because we've walked that path. So that's when I realized that maybe I'm meant to work more with women and help women heal through their beliefs and begin to trust their intuition again and work with the rhythms of their nature and set their boundaries and let go of people pleasing and all of these things that we all struggle with. And like I said, I work with good girl programming, which is really something I believe that affects all of us on some level.
You're frozen up a bit, hon.
Oh no. Okay. Am I still frozen?
I can hear you. You're just that your picture's frozen, but I can still hear you for the most part.
Okay. Okay, if I'm going to step away for 1 second, I'm going to play with the button on the internet and see if that works. Okay.
All right, hon. So while Raluca is doing that, it's good to be back. It's been a while since I've done these. As I said, I'm in a transitional phase waiting for the place that I'm meant to move into comes to fruition. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more of these. And there she is. She's back.
I'm back. Okay, is it? Let me check.
Oh, I think you're frozen again. Oh, we seem to have
Is it
lost
working?
Raluca. We can see her beautiful face here, but no movement. Oh, hang on. Here we go again.
Is it working? Okay. Are we back?
So good, so good. Technology is fun.
This internet's being a troublemaker.
What doesn't happen? And as we were talking about eclipses and all this other stuff going on, it doesn't help our technology any either.
That's right. It is a crazy time astrologically.
Very much so. Okay, so you were talking about we were getting into working with women for the most part, and how you felt at that point you were being pulled in a direction to do that.
That's right. Yes, to work. So I call it good girl programming, but really it's something that affects all women on some level. It's all the beliefs and programming of how we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to act. And I think this affects all of us. So when I work with women, I just help them work through their limiting beliefs, through beliefs they might be carrying from this lifetime, from past lifetimes, from the ancestral line, and we work together through energy healing and through connecting with the intuition so we can find where these beliefs are and start to release them and to decide what we want to grow into, what we want to bring into our lives. So it's very much about empowering ourselves.
Beautiful, very much so. So what? How did? But how did you? Um, like, how did you come to that work with? And these are the reasons why you want to work with them. Was there something definitive that happened, or that literally made you feel that okay, this is what I need to do?
You mean in terms of working with women, or with the practice and how how the modalities have shaped themselves?
Well, how you've gone, starting off doing what you were doing into where you felt more pulled in the direction of working with women as opposed to men, women, children, whatever,
Okay.
right?
Well, this is kind of funny. It was in doing more healing work on myself and learning more about myself. And I started learning about my human design and my astrology. So this was already kind of naturally happening with the clientele that was attracted to me. But with looking at my human design, if anybody's familiar with human design, I am a 6-2 generator. So being a 6-2, this means that in my design, I meant to teach from my own experiences and lead by example. So I started reflecting back on what my experience has been and what I have gone through. And these were the things that were already very natural to me to talk about, to work through, to heal through. So that's how I came to the conclusion that this is what I meant to do, at least for right now. And we'll see how else it evolves, because I think we always evolve what we're doing and our practice throughout our lives.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually very much in very similar as your 6'2". I've never done anything like that to find that out, but
Yeah,
I've literally spent probably much more than half of my lifetime um, being taught through life experiences in order to work with people doing the different modalities that I do. So I completely relate that most definitely.
nice.
It's and it's interesting just how much it resonates when you work with people and things come up and you really know how to help because you've been there, done that, right? Whether it be through trainings and courses or lessons or life experiences, it just there's a whole ball of things there that come together to mesh to help others,
Exact,
you know. It's absolutely, it's fascinating how it works. Um, so let's see. Let's go. Um, let's kind of break down some of the modalities that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let you take the floor on that one in terms of the different modalities and how they help people, right?
Okay. Yes. So right now in my practice, I offer just two different types of healing sessions, but within them, I combine all the modalities that I have used. So um, I take bits and pieces from the modalities I have learned, and I just use my intuition. I use whatever feels called to in our session together, and that is what I direct within the session. So one of the modalities I use is homeopathy, and this is energetic medicine. They can be either little drops or globules that we take, and these help the person as a whole, mind, body, spirit. So this is beautiful as a tool actually to use when we go through big energetic shifts. I don't know if people have noticed that lately, whenever we go through a big energetic shift, we start getting physical symptoms. Like our body comes up with symptoms like pains and aches or whatever might come up. And this is an energetic clearing. So homeopathy is a great way to support our body during this energetic clearing to help shift that energy faster, because all symptoms are is just they're messengers of what is going on within our energy field, what's going on with us energetically, and it's just pointing to something that's not aligned with our soul consciousness for us to see, to be able to release, to move through. So homeopathy is one of the tools that I use, and I think it's so beautiful and so gentle and so holistic. And then I also use something called inner voice facilitation. This is essentially an active guided meditation where I help people quiet down their mind enough so they could connect with their intuition and hear their own inner wisdom. And I love this tool. I use
That
it in
sounds
my,
wonderful.
it's so
So
powerful.
many, because so many people, yeah, because it's funny. So many people um, have issues with quieting the mind in order to go in and into that intuitive place to connect. And I can't tell you how many, and I'm sure you've heard it on occasion as well. The many that say, "Oh, I can't do it.
Yes.
Meditation, I can't do meditation." And it's like, no, anybody can do meditation. Some people just have to learn, and it takes them a little bit longer. But anybody, no, I can't do it. And they'll argue with you. No, I can't do that. Can't do that. So
Yes.
that's amazing.
I know, because it is hard to quiet down our minds, and especially it's hard to do it when we're by ourselves. And the other thing is, a lot of us don't trust our intuition. Like our intuition is always there, it's always communicating with us, our soul is always communicating with us. We just doubt it, and our mind is so much louder, so we just say we don't hear it, but it's there, it's always talking to us.
It's always the
And
second
in
guess.
these
Do I or don't
sessions,
I? Do I or don't I? And it's which
exactly.
way do they pick? It's not always the way it should be. We've all
Yeah,
done that.
I know. We all need to be brave and follow our hearts, not the mind. Yeah. But in these sessions, I've had people that just said they've never been able to connect with their intuition. They don't even know what it feels like. And then by the end of the session, they have that clear connection. And it's just powerful because it's that space being held for them, that I'm there to gently guide them and to remind them to quiet their mind, and to remind them to breathe and hold that safe space. And that's all that's needed to make the connection, because it's already there within us. And the beautiful thing is that when you're in this space, when you're connected with your soul consciousness, it's safe for your for emotions and old beliefs and fears to come up, to be released. So it's like we're in that safe space of awareness, and then you start having emotions come up or pains and aches in the body, and that is where an energy packet is being stored. That's where a fear is being stored, where something that's ready to be released is stored, or like an old belief. So in that point of awareness, you can feel it in the body, and then we work together on releasing it through the breath and through energy work, and then it's gone. Then you're lighter, and then that's something you don't have to carry with you anymore. And then we always make sure we bring in either unconditional love or a new belief. We can also use that inner voice, the soul consciousness, to ask, like, what would you like to bring into this space instead? And your soul gets to choose what belief you would like instead. And it's just such a powerful tool, because then we show up in our lives differently, without even us trying to be different, without us trying to, like, like, for an example, like, let's say you have like a sugar addiction, and every day you're thinking, like, oh, should I eat this? Should I not eat this? Should I eat this? Should I not eat this? And you're having this conversation with yourself. But if we just shifted a belief, that wouldn't even come to you anymore. You would just be so in tune with yourself that you wouldn't even think of that anymore. So it's not like a sugar addiction, but it's other things that we do in our lives that are the exact same thing, where we're fighting ourselves or putting up resistance for us to move forward because we're afraid of being seen. When we shift that belief, we just start acting completely different in our lives without us having to consciously make choices every day to do so. And then other modalities are Reiki, and so I'm sure everybody's familiar with Reiki and energy healing. It's just universal healing energy that's channeled from the source. And I also do access bars. So this one in particular needs to be done in person. All the other modalities I also offer virtually. I offer online. Access bars, it's just touching and holding 32 different points on the head. And this essentially helps quiet down the mind, and it helps kind of like wipe the slate clean on certain thought patterns that we have. These are acupressure points that are connected with thoughts that we have about our body, about healing, about money, and creativity. And it just helps clear the mind a little bit in all those places where we overthink.
Geez, it's interesting, that I have a 19-year-old who struggles from all of that with the thought processes. So we may have to talk, because I keep trying to work with him, and he gets so negative because he has depression, and a bit of anxiety. He's also high functioning autistic. So all of those that play out, right? And he's very intelligent, very intellectual. But the problem is that all of those things that you just said are compile and leave him very frustrated on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, how can I do this? How can I stop my mind from doing this? How do I keep doing this? I tell him what I can in terms of that, but even that doesn't always work, because, of course, I'm mom. And mom is just mom. Doesn't matter what I know or what I do, I'm mom. So, which is very typical with all kids.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, because we may have to talk. Remind me after the fact. We'll chat, because I'm very curious to see, how that may look going down the road in terms of helping him navigating all of that. Maybe that's something that could help him to be unstuck, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yes, we can talk about that. The mind is such a troublemaker. We always get caught in those. We always get caught in those patterns of overthinking, and the mind uses up so much of our energy. I heard somebody told me this, that the mind, like using our brain and overthinking, that uses like 25% of our energy. So if we're putting that towards overthinking and worrying, that is just draining us on such a huge level, where we could
And the other thing that people don't realize, and as you know, the different work that I do, whether it's with medicine or otherwise, one of the things that people don't realize just how powerful the mind is. The subconscious plays out at 90% of what we do.
That's right.
The conscious mind is only about 10% of our brain that we use in all of our thinking. So if you can only imagine, going from 10% into that 100% bracket using the mind. It's mind blowing. I mean, I just couldn't imagine and just like you said, we tend to use the mind in many times that we really shouldn't be. I mean, there's so many times that you need to just breathe, let it go, be mindful, be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think at all. Just kind of go with it. And a good percentage of people, that overthinking, that hamster wheel, and all the other things that happen is so key with many.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right about how many of us overthink. We were never meant by design, we were never meant to use our brains as much as we do right now. We put the
No,
mind on a pedestal and we started to ignore our own inner wisdom and that inner compass that we have. The mind was just supposed to be like a calculator. It's supposed to help us survive and navigate this earth reality, but we're supposed to trust our own consciousness of how to lead our lives. And we just gave it way too much
yeah.
power. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I don't know if you might not have seen it as of yet, but a little while ago, the way I've been living in the last handful of months is due to my mind, because something I had done in a past life, and I had
Mm-hmm.
already served my karma. But in this lifetime, it was so overwhelming to believe that I could do something. And basically, what I had done is taken a family member's land or a house or something, and I had sold it or gotten rid of it somehow. And in this lifetime, I couldn't let it go because it was this family member from 4 generations back actually had a spiritual block on me at some point.
Mm.
And then I did serve my time, so to speak, with my karma, with what I'd done. But the problem is, and this is where what we're talking about, so almost distraught, because I could not wrap my head around ever doing anything like that to anybody, good, bad, indifferent. I send good, bad, and evil people away with love. It doesn't matter who they are, and hope that whatever's playing out with them will get better. Right. So, anyways, couldn't wrap my head around it. So, and here I am. And at some point, if anybody sees this and you're on the circle, read what I wrote, Karma We Sow, and you will see not only serve my karma, I'm reserving it right now. Why? Because of the thoughts, because
Mm.
I thought so heavily of it. And even after doing everything I needed to do, which took me years to get to the point that I was at, where I served my time, so to speak, and to um, give peace between that grandfather from 4 generations back. All of the stuff that had to go on. I mean, there was a lot that needed to be done in order to resolve that and come into a good space. And yet here I am, and I'm actually once again serving karma. Why? Because I couldn't let it go. I spent so much time thinking about how could I have done like something like that, and I kept bringing it back, and here I am. I'm reserving something that had already been served. So people understand that our thoughts are absolutely that 10% thought pattern, because I don't know how much of what I was doing was subconscious, but I'll tell you,
Yeah.
definitely conscious. And yeah, I am redoing what should never have happened yet again.
That is so interesting. In times like these, we really realized how powerful we are, and we have to remember how powerful we are and how much our thoughts can create our reality.
And here I am. And we spoke a little bit about it before, but it is what it is, and then I've accepted it, and I realize what I've done, and I realize how I have to move forward with it, and that's what I'm doing.
But
But
it's always happening in the highest and best good, and we're always on track and on time, or what, no matter what.
oh yes, I know going forward, that's I'm being as patient as I can. That's the part that's tricky, is trying to be patient with this. But nonetheless, aside from that, I've accepted everything. I know what's going on. I know what I need to do. But again,
Yeah.
so people, when we say our thoughts are, they're more powerful than you will ever understand. Even I knew how powerful they were, but until this happened, I didn't really realize. I mean, when you can actually bring karma, and I mean, you can do it, I'm sure, with good or bad, because it can be constructive, it can be the negative karma, it can be any karma. So please do really good out there, because if you have that come back, that's awesome. You don't have to worry about this stuff.
Ah,
But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
um, so I'm not too sure if we touched on it when you talk about good girl programming.
Mhm.
Can you maybe break that down a little bit in terms of what is good girl programming? Like, why do you refer it in that manner?
Well, it's the good girl programming. Oh, it's just the title that came to mind. That it's like all the things that make us feel like we are a good girl, like a good woman, good person. And we often like think that being a good girl means being a good person, but it does not. So good girl programming is often like, how women a lot of times put everybody else ahead of themselves and feel bad if they don't. They feel that they should do that or overgive or always be thinking about others or always people pleasing. Um, and
They don't stay in their power.
that's right. And they always like, they feel like they should be quiet and nice and kind and just always proper, and all of those things, all of those expectations that have been placed on us, throughout generations and generations and in our society, and we have also placed them up on ourselves. And
Mhm.
it's just time for us to let go, because I think now more than ever it's time for women to be in their power and to own who they are and share their gifts with the world.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where, and I'm one of those women that I'm more to, and I agree with everything you're saying. I have many people that I've worked with and friends and otherwise, that do a lot of women's circles and women groups, and it's beautiful, especially for those women that have been traumatized or there has been things that have happened to them that they need on the female side. They really need to address, and they need to step into their power as a woman, on an equal basis. One of the things I tend to gear towards is on my side is I gear towards men and women, because part of what I get is that to some extent, although it's been mainly a patriarchal society for centuries, at the same time we don't want to make it a matriarchal society
Yeah.
either. And so it's a really funky balance in terms of how that goes. I personally have never been drawn to work specifically with women, you know, and there are many that have, and that's good, because there are women that need one-on-one, or they need
Mhm.
those group support to help them overcome a lot of the female issues that many have had, and have had for, as you said, generations and generations,
Yes.
coming forward. I'm being more guided to work with both in order to, because one of the things that, yes, many women are abused and whatnot, but there have been men abused as well. And the problem is, whether it be by a parent, a family member, a friend, a woman, and there are many men that actually have, even if it's mentally, have been abused by women, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where we kind of, I'm getting a little
No,
off track, but
no, no, no. And
it's,
I absolutely agree with you. I think um, at this time, especially, everybody needs this healing. Men and women need this healing, and
yeah,
men have a lot of healing to go through as well. I mean, they're always taught that they shouldn't have emotions and they should push their emotions
no,
down.
don't
And
cry, you a wimp.
yeah, you just have to be strong and
Yeah,
only like providing and all of these expectations that they have on them. And I absolutely agree. Right now, everybody needs to heal and everybody needs that support. It's just that um, the way I'm a healer and the way I teach, it comes more from my own personal experience. So I wouldn't be able to serve in the same way. So I chose to work mainly with women,
of
but
course.
I know there's so many beautiful healing opportunities out there for whoever needs
Oh no,
healing.
and that's what I said. What you're
Mhm.
doing is much needed, because, like you said, for generations, there's been a lot of pressure put on women in various ways. So allowed to cry in public, and the guys aren't supposed to. But at the same time, as time has gone forward to this time, even women are getting to the point where like, no, I'm going to be strong. I'm not crying. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to show emotion in public, because then I'm not going to stand up to that guy at work that is running the company and I'm in line for that position. Well, I'm just kind of hypothetically putting it out there, but so of course, no, we need women to work with women. There is no doubt about it. It's something, and a man can work with a woman, but it's not always the same. Even without a lot of experience, a woman can still relate just a woman, just as a man can relate to a man in a far different way, because we think differently,
We do think differently.
right? Just like
Yeah.
men are from Mars and women are from Venus. I mean,
Yeah.
that book was so spot on when it came out with the definitive differences. It was mind blowing.
Yeah, we do think differently, and so many things are different about us. And this is part of the healing that I want to help with women as well, is that we need to learn to lean into our own feminine power and our cycles. Our cycles are completely different, like how we work throughout the month, and we're so much more connected with the moon and our hormonal cycle. So our energy goes up and it goes down, and we're not we we're not meant to handle as much stress as men can. So we have to learn to play on our strengths and to work with our energy, and to um, learn how to honor our cycles and not beat ourselves up for not being high energy every day of the month.
Most definitely. So, of all of the work that you do, what do you love the most about it?
Ooh, I love seeing the transformations. I love seeing the transformations after having
Isn't
one
it
or
amazing?
two. Oh my gosh, like having one or two sessions and then having people come in and just say how it's easier for them to set their boundaries or say no or put themselves first. And at first it's like it's small steps, and then we see big changes. So for example, I had somebody come in just for low energy. She was feeling low energy and uninspired and didn't know what to do. So we started working on these beliefs and working with energy and with homeopathy. And then after a few sessions, she was like, I think I need to change my career. And I was like, oh my God. So
Well,
it's,
that's big.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
big.
So it's amazing seeing the transformations that happen, and just how people start to feel more empowered and more like strong in themselves, and start to set those boundaries and feel okay in saying no. It's a
I think
scene.
I think many would agree with you. I know I'm one of them, like, because the work that I do with people, it's not always like that day or that moment, but at some point you hear back from them and you go, wow, that feels really good. It's all the money in the world cannot take away how beautiful that feels, that you were able to help that person definitively, even if it was just a little bit. It was that stepping stone to get them going forward, to move forward in the direction that they need to go, whether it be for healing, changing their life patterns and getting into a better place, whatever it is that they were looking to do. It just it yeah, that's why
That's right.
occasionally I put posts up,
Yeah.
talking about how I feel, because typically you always hear about what you heard about the client and the testimonials and all this stuff. Very rarely do you hear about the person who's the conduit to the healing, or that has helped to guide people in directions they need to go. Often you hear more about their results. You don't hear about what we feel, right?
Yes.
And what we feel, it can change with every person, no matter how great it is. It can be a different feeling, a different type of emotion. It just depends on what it is. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Every session is
um,
so different from each other. Oh, and that reminds me
oh,
of an It reminds me of another modality that I do, because I forgot to mention this. So I
okay.
also do some Akashic record readings, and this reminded
Oh,
me because
beautiful.
I did have a client that after we just had one session together, and it was a healing, and I felt guided to do some Akashic record reading in it, and she messaged afterwards, and she loved that I was able to see her without her telling me anything about her, that I was able to see her essence. And that's something that she felt about herself, but didn't want to bring it out into the world because she wasn't sure of it. And just having me name it and say what I saw in her soul essence, helped her go towards that goal, that vision she had for herself. It was acknowledged by, by an external source, because so oftentimes we doubt ourselves, but what we know is already there. We just need that confirmation from somebody else sometimes.
It is. And I mean, even for you, it's a little pat on the back sometimes, because I know that happens with me all the time.
Yes.
And I get messages and things come through, and you have to trust in yourself as
Mm-hmm.
well. It's not like, because sometimes you'll get something, you'll think, is that just me overthinking? When you first start doing it and these
Mm-hmm.
messages come through, or you get that something that you see to, relay to somebody you're working with, sometimes you kind of go, but it
Yeah,
comes out anyways.
that's right. Yeah, and you're so intuitive and such a powerful healer, and you shared a lot of beautiful messages with me too.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And I don't remember a lot of it, because that's the thing when you channel, right?
Yes, you
It
let it
comes through,
go.
comes out, and then someone could say to you a day later, and you're like, I don't remember. Write it down. That's why I always tell people journal. That's what I say. I think I said to you, just journal what we've done, what our session's been about, et cetera, and so on, because just comes. It comes and goes. That's it.
Yeah.
That's where it starts and ends. Um, so I'm just trying to think of what else. So with everybody that you work with all of these women, and of course they're all different. There's going to be all kinds of different things going on. Is there any main um, commonality that each of these women present, or theme, in terms of what plays out and what you see is happening with a good percentage of the collective of women you work with?
Okay, so I would say a lot of women come in, well, either they're feeling exhausted, or they're feeling like they're not sure of their path. They're feeling a little bit unsure of where to go. So that's where we start, or just that feeling of exhaustion and not feeling sure, feeling a little bit stuck. So that's where we start. And then with everybody, we start with first with the connection. We start with the connecting with the intuition, with their own inner voice. And also, like, I can go into the Akashic records at this time, but we connect with the intuition to see where the best place to start for them is and what needs to be cleared first. So we always start with the connection, and then we go into clearing, and then we clear whatever needs to come up. So we can have one session. I do single sessions, or I do a more long-term one-on-one container when we work together for at least 3 months. And this is where we can go deep into the beliefs to really clear what we need to clear out there. But
Right.
we start to clear things out, and it usually tends to be, a lot of times it's just fears of being seen. A lot of women, we struggle with being afraid to be seen and not feeling safe to be in our power. So we do a lot of clearing around that. And then sometimes it could be smaller things as well. We can have smaller fears as well, but those seem to be like the big ones. Just being afraid to be seen, being afraid of feeling safe, not feeling safe in our power. And then we work on clearing that. We do that energetically. And then we bring in new beliefs. That's the next step. And then afterwards, the integration, it's what's really, really important. So staying in touch. If we just do a single session, then I have a community online that we could stay in touch through, or emails back and forth. Or if we work in a coaching container, we can message back and forth. And the integration is so important, because usually after we do a big clearing on a belief, something will happen in our daily life to push out the rest, or to not like test, but make sure that we really integrated that lesson, so we can start having triggers or things that challenge us in our everyday life, where we have to rise up and meet that new energy. So the integration is so important.
Well, no, and I think we probably talked about that, as I do with most clients.
Yes.
with whatever work you're doing, breath work, energy work, medicine work, it doesn't matter what it is. Anything that is helping you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. One of the things I always say to people, intuition, you start with your intention for
Mm-hmm.
whatever the session is going to be. Then you have your ceremony or the work, however that looks, right? And then you have integration as being the three, what I call the three major steps. And as I tell people, and they're like, "Why, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, integration is the most important part, in my opinion, because that's where the work
It is.
goes to work. And
Yeah.
that's where you brought out all of this stuff that needs to be addressed. You brought it up, you've worked with it, and now you've opened the doors to what needs to be done, or
Mm-hmm.
started it at least, right, into the stepping stone. Now it's time to take these pieces and start putting them together to be into that place that you need to be.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's the most part, because I sometimes you just can't get through to people, and they'll go out and the next week they're doing another ceremony or another piece of healing work, and then the next week and then
Yeah.
2 weeks later, and then they can't understand why they're getting depressed and they're having all these issues. And it's like, well, you got to understand. And I actually did write again in my wisdom share for Mother Owl. That was another piece that I put up there. I put integration able. So
Mhm.
integration able, because it really truly is the one of the most important components of the work that we do on ourselves.
It is, and it's so messy, and it's harder than the healing work itself. Like for example,
Yep.
if we're gonna work on boundaries in a session and being able to set boundaries, you better believe that boundaries are going to be tested right after. So that's when it's hard, and that's when emotions come up. So it's good to have that support system or someone to lean on, or like remember what the intention was, and that this is what exactly what you're working on, and this is just it coming in real life, being tested. I don't want to say tested. That tested is not the right word. It just has
Well,
a weird energy to
it kind of is.
it.
I mean, there's lessons, right? There's lessons that are thrown out. There's teachings, and you have to get a hold of them. You have to take them, and you have to go, okay, why is this happening? What is it that I need to do to change, to learn from this in order to go forward into the next lesson? Because the lessons never end till the day we die. I
No,
mean,
so we might as well
they're
have
put
fun
on
with
us.
them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. I'm just trying to think here. You are also co-host of a podcast, Lab of Life. What's that about?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And then I actually started my own podcast too. So I have two podcasts now.
Oh, good
So
news! Fabulous. You'll have to send me the link for the second one because I only have a link for one.
yes, okay, well, so in Lab of Life, I co-hosted with my friend Lena, and we talk about spirituality. We talk about the latest discoveries in science that support spirituality and the energetic field. So we
Oh,
talk a lot about a lot of different things. We've talked about human design and astrology and what's happening astrologically right now with the Pluto retrograde. So we are just taking all of these ancient teachings and the modern discoveries, and we're just trying to make the human experience as easy as possible. So we're trying to explain these concepts and bring them to anybody that might want to use them, or to be introduced to new concepts. Like if you've never heard of human design, you can listen to an episode and be introduced to it and see if it's something you want to discover for yourself. And we also have guests on that um, are experts in these fields. Like we've had an astrologer on, and a medium, and it's just a fun podcast to be
beautiful.
introduced to these things. Yes. And then my own podcast that I started is called Rise with Raluca, and this is where I talk a lot more about this kind of work that I do with the energetic healing, and with supporting women and working through our beliefs and just the spiritual and energetic aspect of our lives.
Wonderful. Yeah, you'll have to send me the link because when I put all this together and put this out there for everybody, we'll have to.
I will.
I want to be able
Well,
to include that as
I mean, it just got launched less than a week ago, so I will send you the link.
well. That's fine. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
give it to me. Actually, send it to me before we get this, put this all to get this video done with the links and everything. So yeah, the sooner the better. So when we're finished tonight, we'll talk. We can make sure you send that to me.
Beautiful.
So we have that. So that's amazing. You're doing a lot of really good work, and right now, I'm sure, as you know, and as you've mentioned, there's just so much playing out in the collective, especially energetically. Um, you know, um, Reiki is one of those things with energetic healings. I remember when I started, oh my God, I don't know, I'm going to say 14 years, 15 years ago was when I, took my level 1, 2, and my master's. And even back then, just that alone was kind of a funky thing. It was just starting to be known, and it was still, a lot of non-belief and that type of thing. It was just starting to kind of open up. And that's been my stepping stone, and it sounds like that was kind of one of your stepping stones as well, which is why I still teach the level 1, 2, and masters. The healings that I do now have changed profoundly because of my channeling and the other things that I do. But so I really can't say that my sessions are necessarily Reiki.
Yeah.
But that being said, I honor it because it's like a door opener for so many of us.
And I agree. My sessions aren't necessarily Reiki anymore either, but it's still that energy that's being channeled from divine source. But I think the guides that we have, like our own healing energy, and the guides that we have, they show us how to channel the energy and where to place it. So they have a big part in how these healings are facilitated.
Yeah. So for me, when I do it, I actually have different Native American Sioux natives, and I have different natives that literally come in and I channel them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
and I can kind of see what they're doing some of the time. Sometimes I can. I just I know what I'm doing, but it's not me doing it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's vastly different from Reiki, and I don't call it Reiki anymore simply because, in honor of what I'm doing, I don't feel I'm honoring Reiki by saying it's Reiki, because it's really not. It's completely different. It takes less time, et cetera, and so on. But getting back to Reiki, as I said, that it's a big stepping stone for so many people. It's kind of that door opener to getting into the spirituality, to go into the place that we're meant to go, and to progress from there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because it does open the doors when you receive your Reiki attunements. So much shifts in your life, and that's why
Oh,
a lot of times people say that you shouldn't have them closer than 3 months apart. Like it should be 3 or 6 months, or sometimes even a year. I
yeah,
think.
I'm kind of, and we're getting short on time here, but
Yeah.
short and sweet of it for me, having read as much as can be read about the Asui Reiki, which is what I'm trained with. I'm not sure what you're trained with. Mine's with Mikao Asui, and who was the original Reiki master. And he actually taught in 1 week. There was a group of students that he trained. He had people that he wanted to be able to do it when he was no longer here, and he did teach a handful of people in order to go forward as well, to also do the work he's doing. But they did it in 1 week. But that being said, in my belief, in terms of how it works for us now, simply because none of us have that time. That time would have been spent together in his organization, and just teaching, right? Level 1, level 2, masters, that's all they did, and worked and practiced and everything else. Whereas nowadays, you learn in a day, one level, you learn in a day, another level, and then the masters, of course, is more of a, like a night and 2 days, or however somebody teaches it. They're all different now. But I really believe that, I think it's more due to the times that we're in, why we need to have the space and time, because you need to practice, you need to learn the hand positions, again, getting off track here. But, it's one of those things where we don't have the time that they would have had to just focus on it only, right? Which is why you have to break out time frames for each one to make sure that you're absorbing and learning and doing what should be done integrally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also think it depends on the people and the person learning. I think it's there's lots of different options available, but for maybe some people wouldn't be ready to learn it all in 1 week. And I think for me, when I learned it, it was good to have them spaced out every few months because, for example, after my level 1, I had a headache for 2 weeks. So it was just like I needed to
Lots of
integrate some
relief.
things.
That's the 21-day cleanse, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think if we're ready to learn it all in the week, we will find that opportunity. But if we need it spaced out, that's the opportunity. That's the teacher will be led to.
Exactly. There's many reasons,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but either way, it's definitely a stepping stone. It is definitely a door opener for so many. I know it was for me. I was a paranormal investigator at the same time, but the two together were, um, yeah, it really blew the doors open for me in many ways. Most definitely. Um, so, is there anything that you would like to say to finish this up? Is there any messages? Is there anything you would like to say to people going forward?
Yeah, I think now more than ever, it's an important time to learn to trust ourselves and learn to trust our intuition and
Mm.
not so much the outside noises, just always remember to come back to ourselves and build that strong connection with our own inner voice, with our heart, and follow that. And it's just a few breaths away. This is accessible to all of us. We just have to take a few breaths away from the mind and follow that part of us instead.
And stay away from social media as much as you can, or at the very least, news.
That's right.
Especially right now with what's playing out right now. Oh my goodness, I'm like, okay, don't talk to me. I have family and they're all watching CNN and they're watching
Mhm.
the CP24 and they're whatever the different news shows that are playing all about this constantly. And there's things I didn't know anything about it, and I was just told about it today, and I was almost in tears. I really I can't listen about. I can't. They're not human. What they're doing, they're definitely not human.
Yeah.
Because it's just so scary to think that what they can do. But anyways, aside from that, um, so yeah, I will include your email, your website link, your Instagram, and then the two podcast links, not just the one, but the two.
That's
I
right.
will include those, and once it's done, we'll have this up, and people can reach out. Please, people, watch this. Raluca's a great lady. You know what? Just if some of the stuff that she's talking about resonates with you, and you think it's something in an area that maybe you're stuck in, or even I'm gonna at some point talk to her. I'm kind of curious to know about the stuff we were talking about for my son. May even prove fruitful where he's concerned. So, please, this is why we're doing what we're doing. Reach out to people when you see these. If you think there's something interesting or something that, maybe that could help me, then definitely call out to Raluca. I'm sure she'd be more than willing and happy to speak with you, because we all do this work, but we don't just do it to get paid. And that's one thing, for many years that was a bit of a struggle in the beginning, is how do you charge for this stuff, and I used to often kind of say to myself, well, just how I feel, like we were talking about, it's payment almost enough when you see how you help transform somebody, or help them to transform themselves. I should rephrase that. Um, but unfortunately, we live in a society that does barter and trade. You just can't survive on that. So it doesn't work that way. But you know what? Just either way, reach out to Raluca, because I'm sure there are definitely things that you can do. Maybe even just the Akashic readings. Maybe there's something going forward that you need to know about yourself on a soul level that you don't know, and that you should be doing or should be going on. Reach out to her. There even something that simple, so to speak, could help you going forward to keep stepping forward and do what you need to do in this lifetime. So keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on here. It was such a pleasure reconnecting with you again. And
You too, my love. You too. It was great to see you. As I said, hopefully we talk again in the near future, and we've got a few things to talk about now.
okay.
Send me that link, And thank you to everybody who watches this. And like I said, reach out. You got any questions, or if you need to get to me to get to Raluca, I don't, however that looks, by all means, reach out and let's see what we can do to help you out. Thank you for coming, Raluca. Thank you so much. It was great to see you again.
You as
And
well.
We'll be in touch for sure.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you on the flip side.